for my interest, for the express purpose of my personal interests, for the benefit of me as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And yet as human beings, we tend to reject that will. We tend to rebel against the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we say, Allahumma ij'al nafsi mutma'innatan biqadarik. Give me the peace to accept your will. Mutma'in means at peace. بِقَدَرِكَ رَاضِيَةً بِقَضَائِكَ. Not only should I be at peace with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever He wills for me, I should accept it, I should embrace it. رَاضِيَةً بِقَضَائِكَ. I should be happy and pleased with the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just yesterday I was speaking to a brother, and I remember a couple of years back, he was going through a very rough time in his life because he had proposed to this woman, and initially the proposal was accepted, and I'm sure a lot of you, if you haven't been through the process, you probably will. The proposal was accepted, she agreed to marry him. Now the engagement period, or basically the agreement they had between one another, lasted for 2 or 3 months. And he was over the moon, because this was the girl of his dreams. He always wanted to marry her. And I remember prior to that, prior to reaching that agreement, one day he came up to me and he was crying. He was literally crying, saying that, I'm sort of having problems. I feel she might reject me and whatnot. But then she agreed. He was really happy for a while. And then she asked him to propose officially to her family. So he went to her family and he proposed. They refused. He was so broken beyond description. He was so sad, it was unbelievable. Later, obviously, that didn't work out. Later, he married another woman. And just yesterday, I said to him, aren't you now happy that the first proposal didn't work out? He said, I swear to God, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every single day that didn't work out for me. Because had it worked out, I would not have met my wife now, the one I'm married to right now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants what is best for you. Now at the time, it may not make a lot of sense. At the time, you might sit down and think, why is God, na'udhu billah, some people reach this stage, why is Allah treating me like this? Why me? Na'udhu billah, why me? Shouldn't you give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the benefit of the doubt? That you give to a good friend. Forget your Lord, forget your Creator. If you had a good friend, and this good friend of yours did something that didn't make sense to you, don't you give him the benefit of the doubt initially? And assume that he's got the best of intentions? And yet when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't even treat him like a good friend. We don't even treat him like an enemy, na'udhu billah. Even with an enemy, we're sometimes lenient, because we try to keep, and maintain relations, even with an enemy. If an enemy does something terribly bad to you, you would want to seek revenge. You would want to respond. But even an enemy is one you are wary of, and you try to sort of turn him into a friend. There's a hadith that says, and it's a beautiful hadith, a way for us to conduct ourselves in our social circles. The hadith says, أحبب, listen, أحبب حبيبك هونا ما عسى أن يكون بغيضك يوما ما وأبغض بغيضك يوما ما عسى أن يكون حبيبك يوما ما. He says, when you've got a very good friend, someone you adore, someone you love, a sweetheart, okay, try to treat him in such a way, or her in such a way, that tucked in the back of your mind, there is the slight possibility and the chance that one day your friendship might break up. Now, that's not to say you should treat that person with suspicion. But if you've got secrets, for example, that you haven't told anyone, this is just an example. Don't expose all of your secrets to this friend of yours because you're friends now. Because you'll never know what's going to happen. Maybe one day this very good friend of yours might turn against you. Your friendship's going to break, and your secret's out in the open. أحبب حبيبك هونا ما عسى. Maybe one day, possibly, he might turn against you. وَأَبْغِضْ بَغِيضَكَ يَوْمًا مَا. This is even stranger. There's someone you absolutely loathe, someone who hates your guts, someone who you consider as an enemy, as a sworn enemy. The Imam says that you shouldn't treat him like an enemy all the time. You should leave some room for this person to become your friend one day. Haven't we seen this in real life? Sworn enemies. In fact, I remember I was a kid and I was much younger, and one day I had a fight with this guy, and it was nasty. Yes, fists were flying, and it was one of those fights. And subhanallah, my first encounter with this person started with a fight. Now we're the best of friends. أبغض بغيضك هونا ما. Maybe this person is going to be your friend one day. So don't sever all relations. Don't break all the bridges that might one day lead into you to becoming friends. Now, let's accept the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He only wants the best for us. That's the first lesson we seek from this ziyarah. اللهم اجعل نفسي مطمئنة بقدرك راضية بقضائك محبوبة في أرضك وسمائك. Make my soul loved by the people in this world, the immediate society that surrounds me, my community to whom I belong. في أرضك وسمائك. And make the angels love me as well. Don't make me in such a way. In other words, do not take away your mercy from me. Because when you do, I will be hated both in my society, my immediate circle of friends and family, as well as by the angels, which is even worse. Because one might be hated by the people surrounding him, but if this person is loved by the angels, he's got nothing to worry about. Wasn't Ibrahim a single nation? Ibrahim was the only believer on the face of the planet at his time. The only believer. Everyone was against him. His own uncle was against him. His cousins were against him. He had no one until later he got married to Sarah, and Sarah was a faithful. And then one of his cousins, I believe it was the Prophet Lut. And there were 3. But initially it was just Ibrahim. But it doesn't matter. Because when you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on your side, even when you're catapulted into the fires, the biggest ever man-made fire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will turn the fire into bardan wa salama, into a cool and serene and peaceful place. You will never burn if Allah is on your side. Doesn't matter who's against you. Doesn't matter if all the armies in the world get together to fight you. مُولَعَةً بِذِكْرِكَ وَدُعَائِكَ. Before that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in this ziyarah we read, مُسْتَنَّةً بِسُنَنِ أَوْلِيَائِكَ. And this is what I want to talk about. مُفَارِقَةً لِأَخْلَاقِ أَعْدَائِكَ. مُولَعَةً مَشْغُولَةً عَنِ الدُّنْيَا بِحَمْدِكَ وَثَنَائِكَ. Oh Allah, make me in such a way, support me, help me, so that I would be this kind of person who refrains from the morals of your enemies, and who gets close and tries to imitate the morals of your friends and your apostles, and who is occupied from the petty desires of this world with what? With your remembrance and your supplication and prayers towards you. When you see these examples in the street and on TV, these people who, we really feel sorry for them. I don't hate them. I feel sorry for them. It's more like petty. I look at them and I think, is this the life you were meant to live? Is this what life is all about? For you to get wasted all the time? For you to have a fist fight with your own best friend? For you to walk in the middle of the street not knowing where you're going, not knowing what you're doing? For you to be throwing, all sorts of different things at each other? Is this what life is all about? The scholars say, and listen closely, there is a concept called at-tajarri. tajarri,